What a beautiful day for a run. Fall is in the air. The leaves are crunching under my feet. And speaking of crunching, a lot of people right now are crunching their numbers when it comes to housing costs and the amount they're paying for inflation and things like that. And even mortgage renewals are coming up soon. And that's why I want to get into the top 3 things that you can do now to save yourself thousands of dollars in the long run when it comes to real estate. Make sure you stick around for point number 3 because it's something that a lot of people I feel are forgetting about, especially over the last 5 years, and it's something that you could definitely take advantage of. Now let's get into it. And as always, a quick change to the business threads. And if you're new to the channel, I'm Jeff Tincher. I'm a real estate agent here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. I have a network across this great nation and the rest of North America for that matter. And if you like videos like this, I'd love for you to subscribe, drop a comment, start a chat, get things going. That's how this channel really does well. And listen, also, if you want to discuss anything further, there's a Calendly link below. You can click on it. We can book a half-an-hour call and talk about all things real estate. The first thing we're going to cover is the idea of legacy property. What does that mean? Well, I'll tell you, the word around the water cooler right now is it's a property that is a revenue property, but you're purposely buying it so that you're going to hold it, rent it out, and eventually hand it down to your kids. The idea is that if you have a child who's, let's say, 3 or 4 years old now, you're going to buy that townhouse or that condo depending on your market, and it might be something new, it might be something resale. You're going to hold it and rent it out over the years. Yes, there'll be expenses along the way, taxes and upkeep and those things, but if it's within your budget and something that makes sense, by the time your child is 18 to 22 years old, they're entering the workforce or they're going to school somewhere nearby, the idea is that they don't have to suddenly set foot into the market new. Who knows how expensive things will be then. It's something you can either pass down to them or have them live in so that they don't have to incur that huge cost at that time. Another version of this, or another way of thinking of it, might be this. I have a friend personally who has a condo property with his wife, and they've had that for about 15 years. They used to live in it. Now, when they did live in it and eventually moved into the house they're in now, they didn't necessarily know that it was going to probably be a legacy property. But lo and behold, here we are this many years later, their daughter now lives in that property and they don't have to incur that big expense of getting into the market now. They can hold that property. On the flip side, and I know some of you might even comment about this or are going to think about this, is okay, well, part of the reason now why it's harder for buyers to get into the market because there's less inventory, and that is also due to this legacy property idea of people holding on to their condos and townhouses longer because they're giving it or willing it down to their family members so that unit doesn't necessarily come to market. So there's sort of trade-offs that come with it. It's something that obviously you have to navigate and when you're ready and the budget fits it, but there's 2 sides to that angle as well. Another thing that's going to save you thousands of dollars in the long run, and one of my favorite things to talk about, involves mortgages. Accelerate your payments is one thing, but it's one of the best things I've learned about mortgages probably ever, and it's the fact that you can actually increase your monthly payment. Obviously, you have to be within the right mindset and have the means to do so, but where I'm going with it is, let's say you locked in several years ago on a mortgage and it's a 1.5% crazy good rate, or 2% even. Well, now the rates are about 4.25% in and around there. There's a definite delta, so a space between what you're paying now and when you renew, let's say in 2025, 2026. When you renew, there's going to be a significant difference with your mortgage amount on what you're paying now monthly versus what you're paying at the new rate. So in order to absorb that shock or lessen that shock, the idea is that let's say you put even $50 more per month. In some cases, people have put $200, $300, $400 more per month within their budget on their monthly mortgage payments. And what's super cool about that is that extra payment, that $50, that $400 goes right to your principal. And then when you renew after your term is done in 5 years, you paid down a lot more of your principal and you're refinancing, yes, at that higher interest rate amount, but you paid down more of your mortgage debt in the meantime. And then when you go to actually make those higher payments, it's not this crazy shock. I'll give you an example. Let's say your monthly mortgage payment was $2,000 a month, and that was based on your old interest rate at 1.5%. And then you say, okay, well, I'm going to pay $2,400 a month going forward. And then when my term ends and I renew my mortgage, it's at 4.25%, let's just say. Let's say that your payment increases to $3,500 a month. Well, at least at $2,400 to $3,500 a month, and that's an exaggeration, but you get where I'm going with this, is a lot less delta than if you were to stay at $2,000 and pay that $3,500 a month. Typically what we're finding is if you're putting that much more towards your mortgage per month, paying off the principal, when you refinance that principal amount, then your payments end up being slightly less anyway, but because you also put more towards it and you're paying a higher amount now versus the higher payment that's coming, it should be less of a shock overall. And over the lifetime of your mortgage, you are going to save a lot of money and pay it off faster. And the third and final thing that could end up saving you thousands in the long run is when it comes to your home office or your business at home. Not everybody has been talking about this over the last few years, and I feel like it's a missed opportunity. When it comes to claiming taxes, if so many of us have been working from home way more than we used to, you should be talking to a financial advisor and your trusted accountant to say, look, I work this much from home, I use this much for my equipment and my supplies, I'm running my business legally through here, how much can I legally and properly claim so that I'm offsetting taxes that I'm paying to the government? And where that's super important is, let's say we rewind the clock back to COVID times of 2020 till now, that's several years, that if for the proper reasons you're able to write off a certain portion of your home business and your home business activities, that should save you over these 4 or 5 years thousands of dollars.